Look, we still have 2 weeks basically until Nvidia's earnings, which come out on the 26th, but we still need to discuss it because this is probably one of the most interesting situations you've been in. And I've been telling you it was the best buy during this dip as far as, in my opinion, safety of options and just getting the big opportunity once again. Now, I could go over a million reasons why, but we're going to talk about what's happening with earnings. The stocks at Nvidia sold out of their own holdings, which is why you're seeing some of these small mid-cap AI names get torched, but where they're going and what to look for over the next week, and then going into their earnings as well. Let's jump into it. Now, first of all, we're starting with the chart. If you want to skip the chart, you don't care, just get out, go skip ahead, whatever, right? But again, the biggest things we want to discuss here are your 100 and your 200 daily moving average. Now, you can go research this for yourself. I recommend you do so. Go look at the history of the 200 SMA. Hedge funds use it. It's simple to understand and to use. The yellow line is your 200 SMA, and that's first what we're talking. This is a weekly chart as well. We'll go into smaller time frames as well. But you have not had a touch of the 200 daily moving average on Nvidia since you broke above it in January of 2023. And if you bought when you broke above it, you were a very happy man as of right now. Now, fast forwarding to where we're at here. I mean, gorgeous where we're at right now. You go to like a daily time frame and you sat here for basically a week. You sat around this. You even had a hold below, right? But once you started remounting 126, 127, we bought it in Discord. We bought it on Twitter. We bought it on YouTube. We said this was the opportunity. We knew we had the 100-day moving average there, but we knew the 200 was the big dog, right? It was, let's say there's the hound and then there's the mountain. We had to get past the mountain and then we worry about the hound, right? Even though he won in the end, technically. So again, where we're at right now on Nvidia. And if you look here, I mean, this is just, it's just crazy. Like in reality, you're sitting back here, back pushing towards all-time highs, and earnings could be the catalyst that gets this thing over the hump. Now, again, the big levels you're watching for in the short term is, can we get back above July highs, 140.7 roughly above that? And then typically we're pushing back towards 148, 150. I mean, just looking back at history, you get above that level, you move pretty quickly, pretty easily, unless there's bad news out there. But I don't believe Trump will mention anything regarding tariffs around semiconductors, at least for a little bit of time. He's definitely trying to, in my opinion, he's trying to work with semiconductor companies, get them in America without hurting production overall. So it's more of like threatening them to make them move to America, and then they start making progress towards there. He's very happy. That's why you have companies like TSM working directly with Intel, in case you have missed this news. So basically Intel is being, Taiwan is the big statement here, right? And what they're trying to do is get TSM to work with Intel, start building all these chips here in America. And again, this is kind of what you're seeing overall, right? With what's happening here, right? So again, what I'm watching for there. So again, above 140, you're happy. That's your next big level. So you're saying, Tyler, what do you say until then? If you're not in Nvidia, I think you need to be patient because you're coming into a resistance. Above that, you're probably pushing at all-time highs. Now, the next part of this, some of those smaller names that Nvidia owns that they've kind of reduced their holdings. Interesting enough, they reduced their ARM stake. Now, you guys know when it comes to smaller semiconductor names, which ARM is not a small name, but it's small in comparison to Nvidia and AVGO. I think ARM has the most bang for your buck. If I'm buying it with the idea of holding it for the long term, I think it's probably the best, right? It's risky. There's a lot of volatility. Options on ARM move quickly. But that being said, biggest opportunity out there, in my opinion. And it's not like a small mid-cap. It's a pretty large name, right? It's worth mentioning Nvidia tried to purchase them back in 2020, 2021 for $50 billion, and now they're worth over $150 billion. That deal did get blocked like an antitrust, so worth mentioning there as well. But going into the companies that they reduced their holdings in, you probably know some of these. They reduced Nano X Imaging, Serve Robotics, SoundHound, right? And then even trimmed its ARM. Did not get rid of it, but it got rid of all three of these. That's why SoundHound, you look at the chart, all you guys are like, I love SoundHound. It's a great name. Well, yeah. So back to what matters here. Nvidia said we're out of that bad boy. They did add new shares in Nebius Group, a WeRide, and then maintained its applied digital, and then a Recursion Pharmaceuticals. Now, RX is interesting. It's a smaller cap name. Just to let you guys know if you are interested. It's going crazy right now. But what I will say, it's interesting that they're investing into these pharmaceuticals right now Because again, you've seen other companies like AMD, for instance, they can't really succeed in the same league and caliber that AVGO and Nvidia are succeeding in. And so they're trying to make a move and pivot. And you guys have mentioned this to me towards pharmaceutical AI, right? Nvidia they're selfish. This is a kill or be killed game. If AMD cannot succeed in the largest pool of what's happening right now with AI chips, etc., they can't succeed and grow at all. And it's clear that AVGO and Nvidia are growing rapidly. They're not going to stand a chance here. Nvidia will just soak it up, and they'll be like the big monster that eats all of it, right? All the cookies from the cookie jar. Same with Broadcom. So, interesting move there. I don't really care about that in the short term, but still interesting to watch. Okay, big thing to be watching. Now, going into Nvidia's earnings. Again, we're still 2 weeks away. I'll probably do another update before this happens, but I think it's important that we know a few things of what we're looking for. Okay. I think this article from Forbes, you can look it up yourself. I'll have a link down below if you guys are interested. I'll probably put in the comments if you guys want to check it out. What you're looking for here. Now, there's a few things. Now, number one, if you look at Nvidia's earnings, and you can quickly do this, Nvidia earnings recently should pop right up on your Google search. You can actually see here. So your most recent, you did 33. Your expected 33 came out 35. Your expectation right now, I think, is 38. I think they surprise us. I think they have their first $40 billion revenue earnings, which would be huge. I mean, honestly, that'd be absolutely monstrous in comparison to a name like Apple earnings, which it's worth mentioning that they're not where Apple is yet. They're not there yet, I will say, right? They're not even halfway there. But what's worth mentioning is the rate in which they're growing right now. That's the thing that you have to talk about. Apple's still getting back to, Apple's still killing it. Don't get me wrong. Their most recent earnings were solid, like $124 billion. But Nvidia is growing rapidly, right? And they're the only ones that are growing as fast as they are, right? So very important to understand that as well. But going into earnings, what are we looking for? Again, we can kind of search through this. Now, a few things. Number one, supply chain. And this is only going back into their Blackwell chip and things they're doing there. Now, we know supply chain with Nvidia has been a struggle, right? It took them a while to get Blackwell to full production. So that's really what you want to see at this earnings, that there's no hiccups with the Blackwell chip. So this is only like a net negative, in my opinion, right? If supply chain is going well, I don't think it makes Nvidia go crazy, but if it's going bad, it will definitely hurt the stock. But I still like what they're doing. The Blackwell chip, again, is the most important thing here. And again, so far, from what we've heard, from what we've seen from these other companies, the Blackwell is the beast. It's the top dog when it comes to semiconductors. The next part is DeepSeek. And you have to assume Nvidia comments on this. Now, again, especially about the sales of products going to DeepSeek, because apparently they're not supposed to be selling to them based off of restrictions. This will be interesting, right? Again, I think Jensen, he's a smart guy. Jensen is going to attack this, in my opinion, quickly. And I think he probably won't go heavy into it because there's a few areas that could hurt him and the company. But what I will say is it's funny that DeepSeek kind of crap. People are like, DeepSeek is still doing so good. No, it's not. It got banned immediately from all U.S. Government officials. Trump mentioned about banning it just outright, Chinese AI. It crashed literally the Monday after it was launched over the weekend because it couldn't handle the servers. What are we talking about? And then Apple denied and didn't want to use them for their Chinese AI either. They went with Baba. So again, no one cares. And it's like, why is no one talking about DeepSeek anymore? It showed up, it was gone, the end, right? Meta Platforms' Mark Zuckerberg noted that the interference workloads are now consuming increased computing power, and his new AI models spend more time thinking, test time scaling. The perspective from one of NVIDIA's large customers that helps contextualize the evolving nature of AI structure, indicating they still have to get big spend, which is why Google, which is why Meta, which is why Amazon, which is why Microsoft all said all of their spending towards AI, these data centers, etc., are going up and up and up and up and up and have no sign of slowing down in the short term. None of them had any slowdown, even with the idea of DeepSeek, which is why everyone thought NVIDIA was a crash burn type of thing. Games and crypto markets, don't care. I just don't care, right? The data center part, awesome, right? But I don't think you should consider gaming and crypto markets into their data center, right? Yeah. So again, So again, they've become way less important. We go back to 2020, 2021. Yeah, no, they're not anymore. So less of a thing in my opinion. Now a few things looking, and it's funny that like they're addressing the big things that we've been talking about. Nvidia stock represents several comparing opportunities for investors. The company's current valuation metrics, including the PE ratio of 51.1, representing a 13% discount to its 10-year average PE ratio of 59.2. So again, this is what I've been saying. Every earnings that they've reported over basically the past like 9 months, they're getting more affordable because the stock isn't really traveling the way it was prior. So it's funny that your PE ratio is going down as the stock is making more money and as it's gradually going up. It's because it's such a valuable name right now. And you also have to understand what and this article doesn't mention their margins. Their average margin on their products is around 73 to 75%. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's absolutely insane. The valuation gap suggests a significant potential upside as the stock would need to appreciate 102% just to trade in line with its historical PE ratio, assuming the current earnings forecast prove accurate, right? Again, because the growth continues. This is the important part here. Now, could this change over time? Potentially. Potentially, this could change over time. The growth could slow down. That'd be the most bearish thing for chips in the market in general. If growth on Nvidia slowed dramatically, it'd be bad for everything, right? But as growth continues, and it doesn't seem like it's going to slow down based off of the spin from these companies, again, more of the same so far, right? Again, personal opinion, what I'm looking at here as well. So again, the risk for Nvidia stock, despite the positive outlook, investors should consider several risk factors. The emergence of efficient trading methods, which again, like DeepSeek, potentially will come out. And you have to understand a great instance of this is cloud. Like I think this is more in depth, and it will only get larger and larger and larger and more complex. But it's important to understand cloud. Remember how much it was to like buy a gigabyte of cloud storage? And now I can go buy like 100 gigabytes on Google Cloud for like $4. So over time it will become cheaper, right? But it's still striking while the iron's hot, and then also evolving and creating new products like Nvidia did. They were known for gaming, and then they switched the whole story in a year. That's what you want to see from a company. That's what you want to see from a top 5 company. That's what you want to see from the most expensive stock out there. Almost. It's a market cap is, I think it's right there with, I think Apple's took the lead again. But where it's at, competition with AI chip market is intensifying. I actually don't think this is a stretch. I don't think it's concerning at all. I think Nvidia's in a league of their own. AVGO is a second behind them. But yeah, like Nvidia is Usain Bolt, and I think like AVGO is Tyson Gay. Like it's a cool, like you hope AVGO could do something, but they're probably not going to. So again, what I'd be looking at overall, again, I think you're gonna have a big earnings. Again, the biggest thing though with these earnings is outlook overall. So what you're really looking for. We know nothing's gonna change with Nvidia. We know they're gonna grow. We know they're gonna be on revenue. We know that's gonna happen, right? So again, I don't think earnings take us from 130, 138, right, where we're at right now, 140 to 160 overnight. But I think they give you that position to understand continued growth in the overall sector. And that's really what Nvidia thrives on. Like if you really look at the chart on Nvidia, yeah, you've had some great reactions to earnings, but it's that just straight continuation where you have good earnings, right? Right here, you go from 96 to 100, right? $6 move. And then over time, you just gradually go up. Even though there was your split, you have your earnings here where you drop down. They weren't even bad earnings. They weren't. But you just gradually go back up and grind up. That's what most of NVIDIA's moves, right, have been over time. Good earnings, and then you gradually move up because you know what position that market is in and their overall growth. I mean, go back to November 2023. Decent earnings, sideways action, straight up over time. So again, what you're really looking for in the market of NVIDIA and what I'm really looking at here. I think it's one of those names you don't have to overcomplicate. You go and look at names like AMD, and it's an opposite story, right? You look at Intel, like it's bouncing on good news right now, but you're sitting below 2023 lows. So when people tell me like, oh man, Intel's looks are great, I'm like, maybe it's bouncing, but like something has to change. You're sitting below 2023 lows. You're not even nowhere near all-time highs, right? AVGO is the only name similar, in my opinion, to NVIDIA that just looks incredible. I mean, it's very similar type of action. You haven't even came down to your 200 SMA. You've tested it August of this past year, September this past year, but you're not breaking below it recently. So it's still so strong out there. And again, the buyers in this field are just they're eating up every opportunity they can to buy more and more and more. I also think Tesla's a very interesting name, and I'm really trying to make more updates on these stocks as well. I'll have another video coming out about Tesla maybe today, but I like what's happening here as well. Tesla still looks really good. You had a big buyer from Ray Dalio, covered it yesterday. But again, this is what you want to see in the market. Big buyers coming into your favorite stocks, and then ultimately high growth trajectories for your favorite stocks as well. Again, hot name. I'm very bullish on Nvidia. You guys know over the past year, every dip we've been buyers of Nvidia. I don't think right now is different. Like, this is what you expected. This is what you wanted to see. If you have questions, comment down below. Follow on for Twitter, everything like that. The links are down below as well. Have a good one, traders.